This is how to use fasting to feel better than you did 10 years ago. And before we get into it, go ahead and like and subscribe down below. But fasting is really just not eating for an extended period of time. So this isn't altogether extremely not complicated, but there's a bunch of different use cases for it. And there's really just 5 main ways that we can apply or that we can do fasting. So one is kind of like the easiest way possible is just to skip breakfast. So instead of going from 7 p.m., eating at 7 p.m. and then eating again at 7 a.m., let's say, giving yourself a 12-hour fast, which was already a fast, so some of this is almost kind of even silly. We would go from 7 a.m. to 10, or 7 p.m. to 10 a.m., or 7 p.m. to noon the next day. So instead of getting the 12 hours, we'd get an extra 5, so we get 17 hours of fasting. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is to just eat once a day. Now, this one kind of only works for certain people. Like if you're an endomorph, maybe you can pull it off, or if you're an extreme overeater, maybe you can pull it off. You're just one of these people that just can put down a ton of food in one setting. You're still getting into some kind of weird stuff with your metabolism there that you might not really like and it doesn't really yield well to like living. But the other one is to eat within a given window. So you might give yourself from noon to 8 p.m. to eat, you're not eating outside of those time frames. Well, that was just, so you might give yourself from 2 to 8 or from 4 to 8. You just give yourself a certain window of time frame and you can eat whatever you want in that time frame and it's fine. That is, I personally think, the least useful way to do fasting. The other one is kind of a mid-length time frame. You go for 24 to 48 hours. Now this gets kind of weird because going to sleep without eating feels strange. So when you do the 48-hour one, the 24-hour one is really easy. So you'd eat at 7 p.m. the night before, let's say, and then the next day you don't eat until 7 p.m. The thing to remember with this one, and this does have a fairly decent use case too, and I'll get into that here in a second. How you break the fast matters, because you haven't had anything that whole time. So a lot of the 7 p.m. meal has been processed through, and so whatever you do eat is going to go through you with no buffer. So if you eat, not to get too disgusting here, but if you eat Thai food, you are not going to like it. If you eat a really spicy meal, you're not gonna like it. If you eat a meal that is extremely fibrous, full of like Brussels sprouts and spinach and no soluble fiber, it's going to not be the greatest day tomorrow. That's going to go right through you. So it's just something to think about is how you break the fast. You probably want to break with something that has a significant amount of soluble fiber. Soluble fiber is like a gel that kind of slows everything down, where insoluble fiber is like a freight train that just pushes everything through. So you probably do want to stick with like a heavy protein meal. You can try like oatmeal and eggs is probably a decent, like breakfast type food is probably a decent way to go. So that's one way to do it. Now, and then there's the longer term. The 5th way is the longer term where you're going over 48 hours. Like you might go out to 5 days, 10 days. There is a point where there's diminishing returns on this, and I think that's pretty clear. But your body is actually a storage machine. You store energy in your muscle. This is protein that your body can consume if you are not eating enough calories. Same thing with your fat cells. It's just storage. We're just camels. So there's a few people on Earth right now that could probably go well over a year without eating any food, just drinking water, and they'd probably have to add some salt in there at some point and some other nutrients, but to feel good. They'd probably feel like crap after a while, but they have that much energy just stored up in them that they could handle this. Anyway, so why would you do fasting? Well, for dudes, it has a ton of benefits. For females, it doesn't seem to work as well. That's in the aggregate though. There's plenty of females that this will work for. The easiest use case is just if you're an unconscious eater, you don't really realize how often you are eating. All of a sudden you say, I'm not gonna eat until 7 p.m. You realize how often you're reaching for food, and then you can consciously adjust, or you can adjust your awareness, because then you are conscious of that pattern. Right? So that's one of the easy ways to do it. But for dudes, your testosterone tends to go up. Your body deals with inflammation just a little bit better. There is an effect of eating food. Your body has to break that down. So if it doesn't have that going on, then you are not going to have near the inflammation in your body that you normally would. Now the problem with that is you just can't not eat. But it does lend itself to the idea of eating less just in general. So these are things to think about around fasting. There's really 5 big ways, but there's a bunch of reasons for why you would do it. I do think that it is a very good thing for people to do. You know, one of the tests for insulin sensitivity or a lack of insulin sensitivity, and you do want insulin sensitivity, is to not eat for a certain amount of time. And if you get that big hunger pain, well, that is not good. That means that you are not sensitive. Your insulin sensitivity is lacking and you need to improve it. Well, now the exercise or the test just became the exercise. So what you do to improve your insulin sensitivity is to fast every once in a while. How I would encourage you to do it, if your schedule allows for eating at 10 a.m., you just eat at 10 a.m., and you eat at 2, and then you eat at 7, right? If your schedule allows or doesn't allow for it, pick a day and you just do a 24-hour fast. So for me, I always fast on Saturdays. Like I haven't, how many years has it been? I haven't eaten on a Saturday in years. And originally it was because I was waking up very early on a Saturday morning to come out here and train other people, not myself. And so it was just a very easy, it was like, okay, well, I'm waking up super early. I could just skip breakfast, give myself an extra hour, and I know it doesn't take me an hour to make breakfast, but give myself some extra time, that's a better way to say it. And then do my fast, and that gives you, so if your schedule allows for that, that's probably a really good way to do it. If you are so inclined, you could try a 48-hour fast. Now, if you are an extreme personality, if you are super obsessive, if you tend to, you know, either do everything or do nothing, please just do one day. Just do one day. Don't try to do a 10-day straight off. Don't try to do a 30-day. Don't try to do something crazy, not crazy, but just extreme. Just do one day. Just try one day a week for the next 4 weeks, see how it goes. But dudes, your testosterone is probably gonna go up, your guts are gonna feel better, your skin is gonna feel better. There's a lot of very good benefits to this, especially in an older population. And it does give credit to eating less. Anyway, this video is getting kind of long for what it is, but there's 5 big ways. And if you are an unconscious eater, please just don't eat for one whole day and notice how often you're reaching for food. And then you're consciously aware of it. Now you can make the changes and you can make that shift. Anyway, this is a little bit about fasting. It really is a very good thing to do. But the biggest errors that I see is how people break the fast and just trying to go too extreme with it. Just be consistent with it over time and good things will happen.